G'day guys, Rukshania, thanks for joining me for the news vlog. I hope you're all having an awesome day. Before I get into the news, I just wanted to talk to you about suppression orders. We've had yet another suppression order being slapped onto a case that's before us here in Victoria, and unfortunately the media can no longer talk about the individual that's being charged, his name and other details related to this, because the courts have decided to grant a suppression order in this instance as well. Now this is of course if you're in Victoria, you would know about this tragic case of the missing Ballarat woman, Samantha Murphy. Now, in some good news of a tragic situation, at least the police have identified an individual allegedly who murdered her and charged this individual, and also they're being put through the court system at the moment with a trial date, I believe, set in August. The body itself is still missing. This individual is not cooperating, but beyond all of that, even though at the initial start of this, the media released his name to the public and some other information around him, now the courts have come out and granted a suppression order, so you can no longer discuss the name of this individual and other certain details. Now, when I looked into this a bit further, there was an interesting article that just popped up on the Herald Sun that discussed some of these facts, because I was thinking, it seems like the courts are giving out these suppression orders like they're giving out candy, right? Everyone gets a suppression order. You go to the court system, you're a criminal, you're alleged to have kidnapped someone or tortured someone or murdered someone or raped someone, you're given a suppression order so the public don't know those details. Now, I can understand there's certain situations where it might be required for whatever reason, but in this instance, especially in the instance even of the kidnapping suppression order I talked about not too long ago, it's hard to actually fathom what the reasons may be, because it's not very transparent, the entire process. Now, according to this article from the Herald Sun, in 2023, in New South Wales, which has a higher population than Victoria, there was only 133 suppression orders granted. But in Victoria, at the same time in 2023, 521 suppression orders granted. And this is all when we have this Open Courts Act here in Victoria about, being transparent with justice and the public knowing information. I think it's pertinent to these criminal cases that these allegations are tested out in the public as well, by people knowing the details around how these things happen and the individuals, who they were. Because otherwise, every time there's a crime committed in the future, the lawyers are going to request a suppression order. So every single crime that's committed in Victoria, until the court process is finished, no one knows who these criminals may have been or what other involvement they may have had. Maybe it's important to know their details, because other people that might know information might come forward, right? So these things are important. So I'd be interested to see if this suppression order is also challenged by the media, and if there's a change. So I just wanted to talk about that at the very start. Next up, guys, this story around the Matilda's captain, Samantha Kerr, Sam Kerr, calling an English cop a stupid white bastard. And, she's being legally finding herself in some hot water in the UK, and of course now it's national news when multiple people commenting about this particular story, and lots of people have different views, but it's come to this discussion around what is racism and can you be racist to white people. And it's really fascinating conversation, and I don't want to waste too much time on it, but I do find it fascinating that these people who are virtue signalers, this woke ideology that organizations like the Matildas and other sporting bodies promote to the world, they take the knee for BLM and they talk about racism and oppression and ensuring that there's diversity and protecting people from these type of offensive language. They promote all of this, but all of a sudden, when one of their own has been accused, allegedly, of saying this slur, and the media is reporting it as saying Samantha Kerr said that this cop is a stupid white bastard, and that's why this trial has been set, all of a sudden it's not racism anymore. And there's articles going up like this: Kerr calling a cop a white bastard isn't reverse precedent. Precedent proves it. I don't know why some precedent here is relevant. New South Wales Premier Chris Minns doesn't think being called a stupid white bastard is racist. Interesting. The WA Premier Roger Cook has also chimed in and says does not believe stupid white bastard is racist. Now, if you ask me, one more, the goal of racial abuse laws isn't protecting stupid white bastards. So this is kind of the headlines that we're seeing out in the Australian media. Here's another one. Aussies release slur of relief after Sam Kerr alleged racist insult revealed to be not racist, and they've quoted some Twitter user who says, "What is the charge? Enjoying a slur, a succulent anti-white slur." Because the progressives in this country, the left-wing nutbags, the libtards, who cry over all types of racism that they see, perceived or non-perceived or whatever, like systemic racism is everywhere. Like, they cannot help but see racism in almost everything that people that they're opposed to ideologically say, have all of a sudden turned around and said, "Hey, it's just white people. It's okay to call the colonizers bastards." Right? It's okay to call them a white bastard. That's not racist, because there's a power imbalance. They're saying, a black person or a person of color, they're oppressed. So you cannot use certain terms like, about the skin color and stuff in that type of language or in that type of tone, because that's racism. But because white people are the oppressors, okay, I'm simplifying this based on what I'm seeing online, but because white people are traditionally have a higher power imbalance, they're stronger, they're more powerful apparently historically, and they're colonizers, it's not racist to call them stupid white bastards. Now, my take on all of this is the fact that we're in this world right now where language is used as a weapon to delegitimize people, to target individuals for saying the wrong thing. If you want to cancel someone, you kind of go after them for using offensive words that may not be offensive. And then you have these crazy hate speech laws that we have in the UK. There's some crazy laws. I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute when it comes to J.K. Rowling and an issue around her. But in Australia, we have these hate speech laws being introduced where all types of things are offensive. And it's this culture that is pushed forward by organizations like the Matildas and others that push forward this cancel, woke culture, ideological thing about racism, and all of a sudden all things are off limits. So if you use that, if you use their own terminology and their own way of viewing the world as the litmus test for all of this, and if you were to reverse the roles, and if someone was to say to Sam Kerr, you stupid so-and-so bastard, or you stupid so-and-so woman, or whatever it is, there would be absolute outrage, all right? There would be meltdowns. I don't know about riots, but depending on who it is. But you understand what I'm saying here, right? So depending on the individual you say it to, they're saying it's racism is defined by the color of the skin, and certain people cannot be, you cannot classify it as racism. So look, I call complete nonsense on this. Again, I don't think whatever she said rises to this kind of 4-day court trial thing, and because all that is nonsense to begin with. But if we are to apply the same standards that they want the rest of us to live by, then yes, it's fair game maybe to be finding yourself in this situation. And when we have people like Chris Minns, the Premier of New South Wales, coming out and saying things like, doesn't think it's racist to say stupid white bastard. He thinks that's completely okay. What is the example, right, these premiers are setting right now in this country? Because it's only opening up a Pandora's box of people just saying, hey, you know what? He's a stupid white bastard. This person's a stupid so-and-so bastard. This person's a black, this, and this person's a brown, this and that. It's Pandora's box, and these people, just to make their base feel good about this, because they're okay with this progressive style of racism that's welcomed by them, they're playing along to it with it and into these hands. Complete nonsense. And really, in light of all of this, the fact that she was drunk in a cab, potentially, she had some argument with the cab driver. This is Samantha Kerr, allegedly argument with the cab driver. The cops had to be called, and then apparently, allegedly, there was this racist slur. All of that with the fact that Soccer Australia or the women's team, whatever, wasn't notified about any of this till it became public through the media. Should she be the captain of the Australian team? I think there's lots of issues here now, and it's again setting the wrong type of. It's showing hypocrisy, and this is going to lead to a lot of people challenging other things in the future. But of course, these people will turn around, and depending on the color of the skin of the person, they will say it's racist. Complete, utter madness. This is the mad world that these people have created themselves, but it is, entertaining at least to watch them, to watch them jumping through hoops and making up all types of excuses to excuse this very blatant racism according to their own standards. Next up, guys, I wanted to talk to you about this thing in the UK. I was talking about the hate speech laws. If you want to see how crazy it is, this individual, this trans individual who's saying she's a woman, India Willabor, wants J.K. Rowling arrested. Let's have a listen.
Fallon's definitely committed a crime. I'm legally a woman. She knows I'm a woman, and she calls me a man. It's a protected characteristic, and that is a breach of both the Equalities Act and the Gender Recognition Act. She's tweeted that out to 14 million followers. If you check out the accounts that have been responding to me on the back of that.
So this individual, because J.K. Rowling has called her a man, wants the UK government to act and take action against her because she's saying that she has committed a crime by labeling this individual as a man. So you can see the type of, woke, virtue-signaling, crazy laws that have been applied in the UK. And Samantha Kerr, going back to my previous story, is a part of that now, and she's in the UK. All right, guys, next up, I wanted to talk this story. This came out yesterday. Now, we had the Voice to Parliament in Australia. Majority of states actually voted no. So it was a resounding no vote from around the country to the Voice of Parliament. But that hasn't stopped states like South Australia going ahead with their own legislative version of the Voice to Parliament. And now, in the latest Voice to Parliament, this time in the Melbourne City Council has proposed or have passed a motion to introduce the Voice to Council. That's right. Roads, rates and rubbish will need to have Indigenous input, right, in the Melbourne City Council. And I'm saying that not to insult anyone, but that is a job. That is a main job that Melbourne City Council should be doing. Of course, we've seen them talking about ceasefires in the Middle East and all kind of other nonsense. But now they have an Indigenous Voice to Parliament as well, to the council, sorry, not the Parliament, Indigenous Voice to Council, to give them advice on how the Melbourne City should be run and how it should, decisions that are made by the council, how it impacts Indigenous communities. That all needs to be taken into account because these individuals who are going to be representing this body will be meeting with the council a few times a year to advise them on Indigenous issues. Let me know your thoughts on this. I'm not going to read too much into this article. You can go have a look for yourself what the makeup is. But yeah, all the 11 councillors backed by the Lord Mayor Sally Capp have passed this motion for a Voice to Council in the city of Melbourne. Interesting. Next up, guys, this one is around the Commonwealth Bank of Australia. Now, the other day we talked about the Bank of CBA getting involved in people's crypto and saying how much they can, trade per month in terms of taking out funds from the bank to send it to exchanges to buy cryptocurrency. Well, this is all about going digital, right? We're going to this digital future, and banks are now also pushing a digital future. But the idea of the bank and the digital future is really around closing their physical branches. And a sub-brand of the CBA is Bank West. I believe its roots hail from Western Australia. But Bank West, it's a 129-year-old branch present in Western Australia, will come to an end by October as its owner Commonwealth Bank shuts 45 branches and converts a further 15 CBA shopfronts. Bank West will transition to digital-only lender over the next 6 months. It is said in a statement on Wednesday, when branches will close early to inform staff of the change. CBA and Bank West said affected employees would be offered alternative employment with the aim to ensure they were not net job losses. So yeah, do you guys bank with Bank West? There has been up and coming banks which have been set up from the get-go as digital banks, like digital-only services. But these kind of banks, Commonwealth Bank, Bank West, these other regional banks who are kind of maybe going digital, they've always had customer-facing services. It's something that locals would go to, as particularly, elderly Australians, those who've been using the banking system for a long time and who haven't really transitioned over into the digital systems. They are reliant on these type of services, and the bank has decided, you know what, we're just going to close them. It's going to be all digital, and this is the future that we want. So more banks closed, more profits for the banks, of course, because when they close their branches, they don't have to pay leases to the buildings that they have. They don't have to pay employees, even though they say they're going to push everyone to different categories. Who knows how that will work out, right? Who knows if these jobs will be maintained like they're saying. So yeah, another bank closing in Australia. It's sad to see, but is that the future? Is that the digital future that we want, or is it the digital future that they're pushing onto us? Next up, guys, we talked about Super Tuesday and how Nikki Haley got absolutely demolished by Donald J. Trump over that. I think she only won, I think Vermont she won. Donald Trump actually ended up winning Alaska as well, and he got most of the delegates from all the different states that were available on Super Tuesday for the Republican nomination for the presidency. And even Mitch McConnell from the US Senate Republican has come out and endorsed Donald Trump to be running as the president for the Republican Party. So a lot has happened in the past 24 hours, and Nikki Haley has finally conceded and dropped out of the Republican race, but she has not fully endorsed Donald Trump yet. Who knows what's going to happen there, but this is what she had to say.
In all likelihood, Donald Trump will be the Republican nominee when our party convention meets in July. I congratulate him and wish him well. I wish anyone well who would be America's president. Our country is too precious to let our differences divide us. I have always been a conservative Republican and always supported the Republican nominee. But on this question, as she did on so many others, Margaret Thatcher provided some good advice when she said, quote, "Never just follow the crowd. Always make up your own mind." It is now up to Donald Trump to earn the votes of those in our party and beyond it who did not support him.
So basically, she's bringing out Thatcher there to put this quote just to say that she will not be endorsing Trump, and it's up to Trump now to go after the voters that Nikki Haley had and to win them over himself without her endorsement. So let's see how that goes. She has finally dropped out, thank God. She should have probably dropped out weeks ago, if not months ago, when the writing was on the wall that this was going to happen. And in terms of that, of course, now that we are seeing that Trump is the presumptive nominee for all of us that are looking into this really closely, the what do you call it? Trump derangement syndrome has fully kicked in the American news media, and we're seeing the first glimpses of a 2016 rerun of the types of stories that we had during that time. So this is from Business Insider. We got fleeing Trumpland. They say that they will leave the country to other greener pastures like Canada, New Zealand, Australia apparently, and other such places to get away from Trump if he were to win again. So I will not read this whole article, but yes, the derangement has kicked in. Let's check in on Rachel Maddow and see how she reacted last night.
Not only the man who is likely to be the Republican candidate for president, but this is the way he's running.
Well, here's how we'll balance it.
Yeah.
Why don't we fact check the hell out of him?
Yes, and we do that after the fact, and that is the best remedy that we've got. It does not fix the fact that we broadcast it.
But it's
honestly
stunning that he's saying these things and people are hearing it. Let's just go through it, right? That we have the most devastating economy. Are you kidding me?
What a bunch of nutbags. And let's check in on this MSNBC host as well, Morning Joe. Let's have a listen to him.
But comparing that guy's mental state, I've said it for years now, he's cogent. But I undersold him when I said he was cogent. He's far beyond cogent. In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been. Intellectually, analytically, because he's been around for 50 years. And, I don't know if people know this or not, Biden used to be a hothead. Sometimes that Irishman would get in front of the reasoning. Sometimes he would say things he didn't want to say. This is, and I don't really, I don't really care. Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't.
Just before I play the rest of this deranged rant from Morning Joe, he's talking about President Joe Biden as being the most cognitive, most there politician that he can think of right now. All right, let's just listen to this again at the end.
And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever. Not a close second. And I don't really.
I'll just play that one more time.
Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever. Not a close second. And I've known him for years. The Brzezinskis have known him for 50 years. If it weren't the truth, I wouldn't say it. And you
Do you believe this guy? Do you believe this mainstream media hack, Morning Joe? He's saying that this version of Biden is the best version ever, intellectually, cognitively, that he is the best he's ever seen. And he is not lying because he's known him for 50 years. Every one of us watching Joe Biden appear on television, appearing on press conferences, whatever it is, we can see ourselves that this guy is not all there. Complete, utter nonsense. Anyway, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the news vlog. As always, you can subscribe to my channel at The Real Rukshan. Hit that subscribe button. If you're enjoying what I'm doing, you can also hit the notification bell. You'll get notifications when I upload a video. As well as, if you want, you can find me on X, Instagram, Facebook, Rumble, Odyssey, and YouTube or Facebook at The Real Rukshan, or at my website, www.realrukshan.com. Thanks, guys. See you tomorrow.